Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. Three things before we get started. Number one, my answers are going to be short this week. I have not been feeling well all week, and I'm on the tail end of that. I'm feeling a lot better today. I'm recording this on a Sunday again for once. And but still, I just want to not put a lot of time into it. It's not as much time. Last week was an hour-long episode. This week, I'll try to do shorter, probably 40 minutes or so. Reasonable. Number two, a big announcement you may have seen from a standalone video or on my community page on YouTube or on any of my socials is that I'm doing a plush for Aloha. For those who didn't know, Aloha, my cat for many, many years, 8 years at the time of his passing. Well, he passed back in October. I wanted to do a plush for him while he was alive, but never got around to it. And now I'm working with Makeshift to try to make it happen now. It needs 200 pledges, which are people who are saying, yes, if you make this, if it reaches the goal, I will buy it. You pledge $2 when you do the pledge itself. And then when it's actually finished and it's shipping to everyone, then you're charged the remaining $27.99 for a $29.99 cost, plus shipping and tax and whatever else. So as of the recording of this, I'm 41 pledges away from the 200 with 4 days left, basically, to get it done. So, yeah, if we can try to make it. It also comes with an OG, pin or something. Like, if you're one of the first pledges to make it happen, then it comes with, a little bonus pin. But, yeah, I really want to make that happen. I'm pretty sure we'll make it because we're pretty close and there's 4 whole days left. But I got to shout it out all the same. And the last thing is this video is going to have a Magic Spoon sponsor ad. There's going to be a few videos this week that have it. I wanted to do it last week, but I didn't have it prepared in time. So this video is going to have one, and the next few videos this week are probably going to have it. So you've just been given a heads up. But let's get going before I test fate and my insane migraines that I've been having this last week come back, which is crazy because I don't usually get migraines. Thanks to the sponsors also on Patreon for supporting. Nobody has to support. My content is available for free. Nothing is pay gated, but if they do, that's great, and I appreciate it. And yeah, with that, I'll play the Magic Spoon ad, and then we'll get to the Q&A. Before we get started, this video has a sponsor, Magic Spoon. It's a high-protein cereal that helps me shake up my daily eating. It can get boring having the same things day in and day out, and because I'm very protein conscious, I always have to be considering it. But Magic Spoon gives me plenty of solid options, not just because they have a ton of cereals with a ton of different flavors, but they also have treat bars and even granola. They all taste great, they hit my cravings where I need to hit them, and they give me the protein that I want, whether that's as breakfast or as a midday snack. If you'd like to try Magic Spoon while also supporting the channel, then click the link below to try some today. Build your own custom box of products with tons of available flavors to match your daily needs or wants. Best of all, use my link and discount code Mr. Happy to get $5 off your box. You can also buy it at your local grocery store if you'd prefer, or even on Amazon. And if you don't like it, Magic Spoon has a 100% happiness guarantee. Let them know and they'll refund you. No questions asked. So click the link below or scan the QR code on the screen and use code Mr. Happy to get $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/Mr. Happy to save $5 on your order. It even works in Canada and the UK. Thanks to Magic Spoon for sponsoring, and now back to the video. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Match. Hi. No, I'm happy. I'm the guy who asked about the PC build a couple months ago. I don't remember that. I don't even remember most of these questions week to week. I got it. It's been great. Nice. I know you finally slogged through the Platinum FF journey. Well, I'm done with the mainline games, but I am doing the off-series games as well. I was wondering if you ever heard of retro achievements. I don't care for retro. So for those who don't know, retro achievements, basically people create new achievement lists for games that exist that don't have achievements, or even for games that do, or at some point they didn't, for retro games before the achievement system came out. Most of the time, how do I put this? I find that user-created content, and this is a form of user-created content, is something that is so, it's majority nonsense and not good and not fun. I think when we operate, but to I haven't looked at a retro achievement list, but I can imagine that somebody would be like, oh, beats Final Fantasy X no sphere grid. If I'm going to do that, I want the little ding on my account that says that I did it, not the ding on some random site that somebody else decided, hey, this is where I'm going to track that stuff. You know what I mean? Now, some people get enjoyment out of it, and some games have more reasonable retro achievements than others. And sometimes retro achievements just cover things that you're surprised don't have achievements. Great example, Final Fantasy 15 for doing the bonus dungeons in the base game, like under Castlemark and stuff, like the underneath dungeons, like there's one that goes like 100 floors, there's one that goes 20. Those make sense, you know, to me. Like, oh, I'm surprised those didn't have a main. But even still, I have no interest in pursuing an arbitrary extension of what is already an arbitrary system, because achievements are pointless. They are. Like, yes, you get that, look what I did. But that's it. I don't need that on some random site on top of already doing it for the game. For people who do enjoy that, great. I want them to enjoy it. It's nice that people can find ways to enjoy old games, especially like Nintendo games, because Nintendo's like never really done achievements to begin with. But I don't find satisfaction out of it. So no, I have no interest in doing retro achievements at all. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi. I've started playing 14 recently, roughly before Dawn Trail, and I've been really enjoying watching your videos as well as the occasional peep into your streams when I can. I'm glad. Welcome. Thank you. Started recently dipping my toes into Savage, currently progging M6S. And it's just funny because it's M6S. It's nothing to do with you. I honestly love the community I found with the folks behind Materia rating. So you rate on Materia. Okay. Making rating significantly more accessible, especially after playing League of Legends for 5+ years. It's been nice to finally have a nice interaction with a stranger online for once. You could say that again. For my question, I was wondering, what do you think Square Enix will they ever close the Materia servers down? I personally think it's unlikely, but seeing Materia referred to as a dead server often got me questioning it sometimes. So there's a couple of reasons why it would only happen if Final Fantasy XIV was actually itself on the cusp of collapsing. Number one, it is a form of server decongestant that they just like having around. Now, that's not a great reason, but it is a reason, and it's an important one. The fact that anyone can travel to Materia, unless if there's any launch issues or any issues with a data center that people are used to being able to access, they have this backup that is regularly not congested. It's pretty open. And yes, there will be latency, but it's play or don't play. They're going to always want that option available. Number two, I think there are ways for them to get people to use Materia more. The big problem is that people formed communities on other data centers, and it was too debilitating to go back to Materia and leave that behind. So the fact that everyone can visit Materia from their existing ones gives some people the onus to be like, oh, I play on, you know, the JP servers because we didn't have Materia. I can go back to Materia and hang out. But the idea of placing their homeworld on Materia is tough because they don't want to do the reverse necessarily. So I think this kind of goes in line with the problem. Somebody asked me last week, I think, about will they shut down Dynamis for a similar reason. And the decongestant's a big reason why. Having the excess server space in case there's another big population boom or popularity boom, especially in a particular region, is another reason. But I think it has to come down to figuring out a way to incentivize people to place their actual homeworld in a location and play in that location. Unfortunately, the most direct way to do that is to restrict access to other servers more readily, which is not great, especially in the current day. But having like the ability to access other servers, party finders, or for certain regions to have their party finders kind of connect. Like, I can tell you right now, if JP and Materia, which this would not be a wise decision, mind you, if they had their PFs merged, just their party finder and their duty finder potentially, that would, I mean, then no one would care. Everyone would be like, oh yeah, sure, then I'll just go to Materia. Like, that's the main reason why I wouldn't be on Materia. I'm going to go on Materia. There are other things that would need to happen. That's a very isolated case. But I do think that Materia itself needs to want this. And only people I really see participate is like Sarah. She's like one of the only people who I actively know who tries to get people to play on Materia and supports people playing on Materia. And need more Sarahs on Materia, in all honesty. That's really like one of the only ways it's gonna happen. And once you hit a breaking point, then it becomes self-sufficient. So, but the likelihood of it shutting down, no. The game would have to be like on the cusp and really needing to cut that particular cost. And at that point, there's way too many other problems that aren't Materia itself. Hashtag Mr. Haps, happy Mondays. Hello, Haps. Hi, hope you're doing all right. Like I said, a little sick. I gotta try to speed up the other answers. That one was already too long for my taste. So remember how Square Enix did that stat squish 2 expansions ago? As you can see, it didn't work very well. Well, no, it did. So the idea was that they were running into issues on the back end with the processing of the numbers. They have clarified that since doing the stat squish, they have gone and improved the back end. So it bought them time to improve the back end. And so they don't actually need to do one, or they may not need to do one for quite some time. They may hit another point where that same problem occurs, and then they need to buy themselves more time again. But yeah, no, it accomplished what it did. I still liked seeing smaller numbers versus bigger numbers. Like, I'm definitely one of those people, but that's because I'm an old head when it comes to that. So do you think they'll do it again? Yeah, no, I answered that kind of. So yeah, no, I think they will, but only if it's another back-end processing issue that it almost ends up being exactly the same thing. But we don't know where that cap is. We just know they've improved it, and they can support way bigger numbers now without it creating calculation problems on the back end. So only if we hit that problem again. That's the only way. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Slappy. That was a pretty good one. No hello. That's always a good start. 100% agree with you. At least you're agreeing with me. That's kind of a hello in a roundabout way. You saying Criterion alt gearing should come 8 weeks after raid patch. Expectations for Square putting out alternate gear paths at a reasonable time frame are somewhat low. Mine are incredibly low. And that they should have right side and a weapon. On the topic of Square's reluctance to making gearing alts less painful, while I've given up hoping Square will unlock the tier of the patch following the raid, do you think they would ever compromise on /pity requirements to increase the drops on the next patch? I think that's a decent enough compromise that I wouldn't write it off. The only reason why I wouldn't expect that is because the changes they have made to pity and the changes they have made to loot over the years have been to combat the odds of you not walking away with something on any given week and to increase the rate at which you can obtain the beginning level rewards, like things from the first or second fight. And the third fight, honestly. It's basically anything that isn't the weapon. And I think those are meant to be the long-term fixes without them weaning off and making gear easier a patch later. I don't agree with that. I think they should make gearing more accessible, the patch after the raid releases, and not wait as long as they do. But like you, my expectations are not in line with my hopes. So, you can hope for that. I don't think that's I think that's a reasonable middle ground for you to take, but I still wouldn't have much hope on that. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Another not hello. What's going on this week? All right, what you putting in the hair? So a lot of people ask me about my hair, which A, I'm probably going to cut soon, and B, I don't do anything special for it. It's knotted to fuck. It's not good. Honestly, it just gets in the way most of the time now, and the only reason it hasn't been cut is because I've been too lazy to go get it cut. That's literally it. I never meant to have hair this long. I never meant for it to get to this point. But my secret, I suppose, not really. I just don't wash it like more than once every like 3 days, unless it's like bad, right? I also run my hair through it a lot, which gets the oils on my hands in my hair. And since I don't use any product, that helps. It's better. My hair looks better when it's a bit more oiled. It's cleaner now because I just showered this morning, but it's better when it's a bit more oily. Oh, and I never forget to hi, hello, and good. All right, see, you should have led with that because I was ready to be like, here you go, because I'm reading the sentences from left to right. All right, yeah, but yeah, no, that's it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi, how you doing? Doing all right, other than just feeling a little under the weather. Let's do your Coils retrospective the other day and have some questions about the old meta. I noticed that in most of the old gameplay clips you showed, your party said 2 paladins, no warriors, multiple black mages. Yeah, warrior was awful in 2.0. It didn't get fixed till 2.1, and then paladin warrior was pretty standard from that point on. Warrior main tank, paladin off tank was considered the more meta thing. But right in 2.0, yeah, warrior was just, it was supposed to be like the tank that has a ton of health, no mitigation, but a ton of healing, and that did not work. It was terrible. You would just die in one hit because you had no mitigation. Multiple black mages, yeah, they didn't have like all of the like trying to force standard comp, and melee jobs were really underpowered in 2.0. But again, by 2.1, 2.2, most of that stuff had started to move more in the direction of traditional comps. So yeah, it was just most of that's just a product of a Realm Reborn's initial release and them not really even considering it, to be honest, and then fixing it after the fact. So job balance was terrible. It's way worse than it was. Less jobs, but way worse job balance back then than we have now. And yeah, it was basically just like tons of range DPS and maybe a melee in case you were going to melee LB, and that was kind of it. So free cure fishing. I don't think anyone free cure fished deliberately. People used cure 1, but I seldom, most of the time, they just used cure 2. I wouldn't say anyone, maybe newer players were free cure fishing, but not really. It wasn't like a normal thing. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Haps. Hi, hope you're doing well. Yeah. My question about old job design compared to the new. I've seen several retrospect videos now, and recently another simplification on classes video, and after seeing them, I'm not even certain if older job design was that much better. Like, here veterans go on about at least generally. Old Astro seems horrible with its heavy RNG reliance, correct. I already know how bad it feels to get 0 dancer procs during a 2-minute, correct. In general, I feel like old class design is a lot of jank that people feel proud of mastering, but not better class design. Yeah, there is a lot of that. I do think that you have to... It's job to job and ability to ability, though. I think certain ideas better capture more unique job design than others. Like Caster Bard, even back then when it was strong in like 3.4, but it went through a lot of hardship before it got to that point. Most people agreed that it felt forced. Like, it just wasn't a good design decision for Bard, even if you could get good at it. It was just, like knowing when to turn off Minuet and how many feints it was going to take, because you had to use feint as your highest power GCD instead of like heavy shot. Like, yeah, like that's the equivalent of mastering jank. Machinist, on the other hand, could use things like ammo procs or having their reload in order to force movement, and they didn't have to turn off their Gauss barrel nearly as often. So there was a degree of mastery that felt intended. It felt like they designed Machinist and then said, well, if Machinist is going to be this strong with this design, we should probably do something with Bard. It feels like Machinist was the intent and Bard was the after effect. I think you can say the same with certain other jobs as well. Dark Knight with Dark Arts felt okay back then because it really fulfilled the whole MP. The idea of them using all their resources like TP, MP, and then of course as a tank your HP, it somewhat captures the way a Dark Knight is. Now they've moved away from that, and it's really just your MP and the job gauge that you have, and it doesn't really capture the same essence. Warrior really hasn't changed since 3.0 in all honesty. Like, things have changed, but it's been the same job, so they pretty much nailed that way back when and have just kind of kept going and going. Big difference being the tank swap. But yeah, I think it depends job to job, but I do think there's a bit of an over glorification by particularly players that have played as long as I have. Not necessarily me, because I don't generally feel this way about most jobs, but people who have played as long as I have who over glorify old job design when it was really just a whole lot of really awkward design decisions put together into something that was more unique feeling. It reminds, like, 1.0, they focused so much on making it unique that it was bad. Unique does not always mean better, and some people liked 1.0 over 2.0, and that it's kind of that same line of thinking. So yeah, and the reason we have jobs the way they are now is because of feedback, not even from people think that, oh, it's because the players who weren't as good kept saying these things. No, it's from veteran players. Man, it'd be nice if this lined up with everybody else's cooldowns, or man, if this ability just did this, or I didn't have to do. It was literally just like a lot of little comments on job jank that just compressed over time. More from experienced players than inexperienced players, because inexperienced players don't even care about that kind of stuff most of the time. On top of devs wanting to make specific decisions because they see play patterns and play rates and stuff like that. Absolutely a factor as well. So yeah, it's weird because I definitely don't glorify the old job design. I think if we had that old job design, the game would probably be worse off as a whole. It's a lot of long questions for a week where I didn't want that as long of a recording. How long am I? Okay, I haven't been recording that long yet. Hashtag hello, hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Nice hashtag. Happy Mondays with Mr. Hello. I know you don't normally play tank, but your Coils retrospective video made me curious about your opinion on this matter as someone who's experienced every raid tier. You think the whole main tank, off tank dynamic has become more lopsided with regards to tank responsibility in Savage recently? Lopsided in the sense that the off tank tends to be a glorified blue DPS when they occasionally share swap tank busters. Yes, this has been a commonly spoken about thing. You don't even have to ask my opinion. This is a very commonly... The idea of main and off has been gone. It is first and second, FT and ST in other regions more often than MT, OT. Because you are effectively just two players that are designated to deal with specific mechanics that hit too hard. Or a mechanic that specifically targets your role or you and the healers, the support role as a whole. So no, your thought on that has been reflected by many longtime players and newer players. Absolutely. And we more often, when we see tanks have to play more responsibly in content, is when it feels like both tanks are more justified and it's not just two blue DPS. But even in those cases, until you press a defensive cooldown, you are effectively a blue DPS. I mean, that's the joke for the longest time has been we have red DPS, green DPS, blue DPS. That's been the ongoing joke for like 5-6 years, probably longer. And you don't even have to like extrapolate specific encounters. It doesn't even like in ultimate. Sometimes it's better for them. Sometimes it's worse for them. Sometimes it's no different. It's really just encounter to encounter how it's designed. But as a whole, I think it's a fair assessment. Hashtag Happy Mondays with the one formerly known as Mr. Match. I'm not formally. It was temporary. Hi. With the Cold Crescent and the relics coming out soon, what relic weapon are you going to be getting first? Of course, you're probably getting all. Good thing I read the rest because I was about to say that. I'll get, I don't know, Bard probably. I usually get a healer first, actually. Only because it's usually more reliable to be a healer in exploration content. Whereas DPS tend to just get murdered. Being a tank or a healer, to me, almost always feels better in exploration content. And for Fork Tower, I mean, I progged Delubrum, I think, on healer. I progged BA on healer. I'll probably prog Fork and whatever the 7.5 one is on healer. So healer makes the most sense for me. So I'll probably grab... I know Scholar's the more popular one, but I'll probably grab Sage first, in all honesty. Hashtag Mondays with Mistet. Happy. Don't worry. T and R right next to each other on the keyboard. Howdy. Hi. Thanks for answering my questions. No problem. It'd be really weird if I just didn't. Although some people ask questions like week after week that I just like, I'm not including that. So your last question didn't make much sense, but you answered it nonetheless. 8.0 equals new names expansion. Oh, okay. I do vaguely remember that from last week. So what do you think the new job or jobs in 8.0 might be? I get asked this like every other week. There's literally no way to guess. There's no context. They've completely gone away from giving us context that allows us to make educated decisions. I can tell you that the role is fizz ranged for certain, and then probably tank if they're doing 2 jobs. But what they do, like you could say anything and it would be right. Like no one would have guessed Newliths on Sage, for example. You know, Picto is actually a guess that popped around a lot. So that one's actually not that surprising. Viper was like, not really a surprise, but like, I don't think another melee was high. So like, but the point is like, there was no context for Viper. And by the time we were making Pictomancer predictions, there was no context for Pictomancer. It was like, I mean, you might remember my video about it if you've watched my channel that long, where I was looking for context clues and they were all useless. So it would be irresponsible of me to say, what do I think? Because I make educated guesses. And there is no way to make an educated guess. It's a wish list. And as a wish list, I don't really care as long as it's fun. I don't care. Whatever, right? Like, I loved Dancer when it came out. I could still play Dancer now, but it's not what I'm playing now. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't care. As long as I have fun playing it, then cool. And if I don't, as long as somebody else does, that's fine too. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. I have one quick question for you. Great. Could we ever have an in-game way of sharing macros between players? With Cosmic Exploration having so many different missions with different recipes that all need slightly different macros, taking a significant amount of time as a console player. I mean, somebody could just copy and paste the text, and then you copy and paste the text. Like if somebody wants to share a macro, that's the way to do it. I think a more straightforward way of literally saying, I'm going to hand you this macro and it's formatted already, that would be cool. I don't think that's unreasonable, but I wouldn't say that's probably a priority because somebody can technically share it with you by just posting it in like party chat or something like that, or in Sage chat. Like it's totally doable already. So I'd say sure, but I don't think it's a priority. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello there. Hi. I started doing Savage back in Asphodelos and have completed each tier since. Nice. Casually working my way through this tier in PF, and I have 2 kids, and I'm enjoying it so far. Currently finally past ads, and I'm 2 in Rage. You made it. You made it. My question is, M6 really stretched the player base in PF and forced them to learn how to prioritize and deal damage or cause them to quit. What other skills do you think Scranies could stretch with a fight that's unusual to 14? You know, that's kind of the point of my raid retrospective. I think engaging with the arena as a mechanic is something that a lot of people don't think about. Like, people think about where AoEs are placed or where you're standing relative to other players for spreads, for stacks, for stuff. But the arena itself, some fights force you to engage with it, like M8, M7 to some degree, because it forces you to jump around. And then, of course, M6 with, you know, landscape. But I think they could really push that particular thing a lot further. And it's because they like neat circles, squares, rectangles. Like, they like shapes that are very uniform. And I think if they start doing very non-uniform arenas that require, like, the way that you have to, like, position for things is vastly different because of it, I think that would probably be a skill that people would struggle with. I mean, even just looking at height in Alexander, it's literally just some platforms are low, some are high, and you get a debuff. It blasted people because their attention span wasn't high enough to constantly have to think about the debuff and the floor and the boss at the same time while doing maybe another mechanic like enumerations or even something else. So for Midas, like that was enough to like really stretch people thin. And I think that things like that, Midas content, let's just go with Midas content, would be look at Midas, and that's really stuff that would stretch people thin. Hashtag Happy Strats Monday. My Mondays are like nobody else's, so you don't want my strat. Hi, Happy. Hi. In Destiny, the devs did ride-alongs, raid-alongs to explain some thoughts behind art design and combat design. Have the 14 devs done something? Sort of. Yoshi P sometimes raids with people on JP on stream. And sometimes he has like a few things to say, and that's kind of about it. You really get most of that information from panels or dev interviews and not necessarily from playing. The big thing is even when we get those, they will always be in Japanese and need to be translated. Because our devs, you know, they're not natively English speaking devs. They can get by a little bit with English, but they're never going to have like a full blown English live stream where Yoshi P just says, I'm not speaking Japanese the entire time. That's not going to happen. Or it's the same with any of the devs at all. It's just not going to happen. Like Koji Kate, they're like the two that would do that. Foxconn technically can, but again, still, it's not his first language. And they do occasionally talk about PF strats. Like, I know the Garuda strat back in the day, the triangle strat, where one tank takes Suparna, one takes Garuda, and the other 6 party members take Charada, and then split the damage. They specifically made mention that was what they did in dev practice, and that was the intended strat. So it's really more like odd comments here and there when they're talking about raid fights or when they're like just kind of casually talking, but not quite to what you're describing. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi. I've been starting to get into exercising more as I currently have a desk job. I haven't been able to work out all week. It's been killing me. Have a desk job after having so many up and moving style jobs. I've been gaining a bit more weight than I'd like, so I've been starting with the typical stuff people recommend, like eating less and moving more. Perfect. Starting off with simple stuff like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, jogging, and the like. Any tips or recommendations that might help? No, the only thing you ever need, almost anything in life, is consistency. Like, you could be someone who walks 10,000 steps a day and just cuts down on your eating, and odds are you're going to drastically improve your lifestyle. But you have to do it, right? You can't be like, oh, the number one thing is not to, like, pile on, like, 7 different goals all at once and then fail. Like, when I started losing weight, again, because, mind you, I've been in good shape multiple times in my life, and I've been out of shape multiple times in my life. I literally took a full month of not exercising at all, like maybe just getting a few more steps in, but not like going for a specific goal, and changing eating habits. That was it. I was like, okay, I need to focus on the eating habits. I don't want to do eating and then end steps and going to the gym. It just was a bad idea. You handle as much as you can, but if you feel yourself burning out, then you just have to make one less important, like, for example, you know what they say, like, you need to eat good like 80% of the time? If you are like eating good 100% of the time and you're like, dude, today's a fuck it day, then do it. Then be like, okay, today's not even a cheat day, not like scheduling a cheat day where you look forward to it all week. Just literally a day where you decide, I'm just not going to make like the best decision. I'm going to make a decision that I want to make. And that's it, because it balances the scales. So the only advice is to be, whatever you decide to do, be as consistent as you can. And if you fall off the wagon, it's not a permanent fall off the wagon. It's a shit's happening. I haven't been to the gym in the last week, and I've had a few things around that. Like, I had those like pretzel chips that they sell, the like everything bagel, like pretzel chips with some queso, but I like buy like the queso with like the least amount of fat And and those pretzel chips are like 0 grams of fat as well. And make sure to drink a lot of water. I don't drink any soda. I don't put any cream in my, like I've made all those decisions and I've been really consistent with them. So even on a week where I can't go to the gym, I can't get as many steps in because I'm sick and it would just make me more sick and then I wouldn't be able to do it. I can still make like a bunch of good decisions and a few bad decisions and then just pick back up where I left off when I'm feeling 100% again. And it's not the end of the world. And it's never the end of the world. And you can always improve things for yourself and it'll be fine. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. I'm just getting to the point about the guides. And I want to say, hell yeah, I agree. Guides are nice to get PF on the same page. But typically, if anything goes wrong, no one knows how to hero save a pull. So, okay. So I probably shouldn't have used the hero save example so aggressively. Because hero saving a pull is not anyone's job to do. It's cool if you can do it. But a lot of the times when a mistake is made in endgame raiding, the hero pull only works if multiple people are capable of pulling it off. Like one person does something and saves everyone else from dying, but what if the healers already use swift cast and now they're panicking to get the raise out, so then they miss the next thing or they forget there's a raid wide. It's a compounding thing. The point of people, most of the point making when it says people don't learn how to play the game, it's that they are so rigid in the way that they approach playing the game in all aspects. The hero play that they can't make is one of them, but it's like the person who like only can do the mechanic if they're in the northwest corner. It's the person who can only be the person who tanks the boss second, right? Who doesn't pull the boss. It's the healer who can only play white mage and nothing else, and they refuse to budge. Like, they have no interest in even understanding how the other healers work. Like, I don't know what Sage buttons do. Well, you should. You're a healer. Even if you're not playing Sage, when Holos goes out, you shouldn't be wondering, wonder what that does. It's like they just like hard focus on the things that they think are the bare minimum for succeeding. And technically, they're right. They are the bare minimum for succeeding. But it kind of just creates a worse experience for the people around them. And in essence, it probably creates a worse experience for them, and they just don't even realize it yet. And then they see mechanics and they can never figure them out, which means that if a player is missing, they can never make a decision that improves it. They just do what the guide said. And if everyone dies, they go, I don't understand. What happened? It's like, well, maybe if you did understand, it would probably be better. So it's the hero play thing is a part of it, but it's not the only part. It's one piece of many other things that can be improved when you actually learn how the game works. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Haps. Hi. Thanks for answering my Amelia Sign Savage question. No problem. I don't remember what it was, but you're welcome. Oh, you were doing mid-item level, no echo, I think. On that topic of fights that kind of blow, are there any other Savage turns or extreme trials that make you mad? Turn 7S is no, I think turn 7 is real. So like, I'm ultra disappointed by, you mentioned E7, P7, like those are an Endsinger. Like, yeah, those are disappointing. But in terms of a genuinely awful rating experience, Melusine is like at the bottom. Like I genuinely can't think of anything that I enjoyed doing less than Melusine. Even as a tank or as a healer, where it's way more fun than being a DPS, mind you, it's still like not good. Like the second lowest experience is being on Dancer in the Twintanya phase of UCOB and having to do the liquid hell baits. Like that's second place because you're not in range of doing your dances like 3 out of the 7 times you get hit by liquid hell or something like that. So you either have to ask the healer to do liquid hells on certain sets, or you just suck it up and accept that life is not fair, deal with it. And there's nothing else that can really happen there. So, yeah, that's it. That's it. Hashtag Mr. Haps, Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. Hi. I'm trying to get back into the game after like 6 months because I burned myself getting all the weapons for UNT before 7.0. So I've got a couple questions. I'm not planning on doing this tier, but I never skipped a current tier. When does a non-savage tome gear augmentation become available? Non-savage gear augmentation becomes available in the odd-numbered patch, basically in 7.3. It is obtainable through the weekly coins from the 24-man raid, which the newest one will be weekly locked, but the original one won't be. It's also available from hunt seals, where you can exchange 2,000 or 3,000 of the most recent, in this case, nuts, for upgrade materials. It will eventually become, I think the weapon upgrade comes a little bit later if memory is serving me, But as soon as the odd numbered patch hits, you will have pretty much free accessibility to augment everything if you just do enough hunts. And then an extra to take a little bit of the load off if you do the new 24-man weekly as well, and spend the coins from all the 24-mans in that expansion relevant to that odd-numbered patch on those upgrade materials. I know the field op is later this month. We know we'll be getting armor sets. Yes, we saw the armor sets. If I had to guess the item level, though, it's tough. Because it's hard. Sometimes the item level is ultra relevant from those. Most of the time, it's somewhat relevant. But I don't know that I could reasonably say there's a pattern, because the release schedule for Bozia versus the release schedule for Eureka, which are the two comparison points, are not in tandem with the way this one's being done, where we get one zone in point 2 and one zone in point 5. But what happens in point 3 and point 4? Like, we know about new Phantom Job stuff in point 4, but what about relic progression? Like, we don't know. So I would say it's reasonable to expect it would be about the same item level as the 24-man stuff, but more so you'll be able to augment it to have bonus effects inside of the new zone. It's probably just knowledge level in some capacity. I don't think they'll do anything more interesting than that, but I hope I'm wrong. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing good. I am. Thank you. Topic of dungeons in 14. Do you feel like they should change how they design them? They are still using the same format layout for a few expansions now. Personally, it's really unfortunate since dungeons are some of my favorite activities in WoW and Destiny. I know deep dungeons exist, but I feel like normal dungeons should get more love. I feel like I talked about this in recent weeks. Maybe it wasn't in a weekly Q&A. But should they just change it? Should is not the right question, because the reason they're designed the way they are now is to be quick in and out content. They don't want them to be different. They want them to be something you log in, do a roulette, get it done in 10 to 15 minutes, and you move on with your life. That's literally their intended purpose in Final Fantasy XIV. So they don't want to change that. It's more like, could they do more dungeon style content that doesn't adhere to that? And I think that's what variant dungeons were supposed to be, and the new one probably will be. But then there's the problem of the way that variant dungeons are integrated into the rest of the game, and that they really aren't. You have to sit down and decide to do a specific variant dungeon and queue from the specific variant queue. And it's not an experience that most people are actively pursuing, because the reward structure doesn't support actively doing them when you log in. And then same with Criterion, which is a similar format, but is a far more difficult experience. Which is still probably not what you're looking for. So the question really is, should they make some dungeons that are non-standard and some that are? And I think it's a fair thing to want as a player, but an unlikely thing to expect outside of them making brand new styles of dungeons like variant, or maybe not exactly like it, but more experimental than the traditional format. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. Hope you have a good day, Mr. Happy. You too. I have a question regarding 16. Well, mostly just wanted to ask whether you think CBU3 will abandon the 16 combat, or will they use it as a base and enhance it more in their future single-player games? It's not about abandoning or even adapting. Yoshi P said that Final Fantasy is whatever the director of the game wants it to be and sees it as in that current time. And I feel like Yoshida wanted to do a proper action. I think I remember him specifically mentioning that 15's action combat wasn't really refined in any way, and that they actually wanted to refine that and make like a dedicated action game. But we also know that he loves tactics. And so I would feel like he would be like, okay, I did that. Well, now I kind of want to do something else. Not like abandon it, like, oh, we can never do that. We're never going to do that again. But more like, you know what? I want our next game to be like more like a tactical RPG, like Final Fantasy Tactics. Or, you know what? We do want to, I do want to try doing a turn-based game. Maybe we can see it. It's really just a matter of looking at things. They're not even thinking, should we do Final Fantasy 16's combat again, or shouldn't we? It's, what do we want to do at all? And then you go from there. So I would say it's unreasonable to hold any expectation at all about what will happen with the next Final Fantasy game. If CBU3, we don't even know if they're going to do another single player game. That's not even guaranteed. So it's a wait and see situation. All right, my headache is actually coming back a little bit, so I'm going to blitz through the last few questions here, which is surprising because I stream for 7 hours. Yeah, then again, it's not, because like after streaming for 7 hours, it's like then on top of that, I record this. So it's like kind of the overextension. But yeah, let me just blitz through the remaining questions. Someone asking here, hello Haps, hope you're having a good day. Create a new character in the latest world server on Dynamis to get the road to 90 buff. What's it called? I'm on the Materia realm with this comment. As of this comment, made the new character. I didn't transfer it. I logged it off about 30 minutes ago and still had the buff intact. The earliest achievement almost 200 days ago. It would go away. Nope. Do you know if there's a rule change? It's under the impression buff will last. No. So road to 90 lasts either 90 days or as long as the world is preferred, whichever is longer. So if the world you're on never stops being preferred, that character will have road to 90 forever. If tomorrow they get rid of it, I'm not saying they would do that tomorrow because there's no patch tomorrow, but it's relatively speaking, then it would go away tomorrow. The moment the patch that it like becomes not preferred, that's what happened. Probably what's happening here. As soon as the world Maduin becomes unpreferred, then that would be the case. And then we have another one here. What are your thoughts on selfish DPS in the game? It doesn't matter. Just all that matters is how much you contribute at the end. Whether you're selfish or buff other people is completely irrelevant. All that matters is your total contribution. So whatever works in the comp and whatever a comp wants to bring is great. It's completely irrelevant whether, like, in all honesty, people have said like, oh, if raid buff alignment is so annoying and rigid, why don't they just get rid of raid buffs and just have everyone be a selfish DPS? And they're logically not incorrect. It's just some people like being selfish and some people really like buffing other people. So removing that element would not be good, but it's not healthy or unhealthy. It's just all that matters is the output at the end of the day. And if a selfish job is one of the best jobs in the game, then you probably see a lot of people play it. And if it's not, then you probably won't. That's how it's been for the last decade, when selfish jobs were terrible for a really long time. And nowadays they're kind of fine to play, but some people also don't want to play them, so they don't. That's simple as that. And then the last one here, there wasn't too many questions left. I guess I maybe could have finished it. Is there a reason they don't focus more on character customization options in place of new jobs and other content? Well, I mean, they focus on emotes, hairstyles, but they've said many times that changing the character creator and adding to it is actually a terrible experience. And that they don't really, it's just the game's not really built for it. Now, to be fair, they've made improvements and they can actually make those adjustments. And they've been giving people free Fantasias as they make micro adjustments to existing things. I think they want to improve the character creator more. It's just that it's such a massive undertaking when there are other things that they probably deem as more important that would require not less work, but the resources that they would need for that would be taking away from other things that players who don't care as much about it, like things that more players engage with and have a vested interest in. And I'll also be honest, they probably know about mods, man. I mean, we know they know about mods, but I mean, they know about mod beasts and they know about people who just mod their character appearance and they're just like, whatever, dude. They're just going to mod it anyway. What the hell? They realistically probably don't think of it like that, but like, I would feel hard to be motivated if everyone was just modding, because modding is way different than programming something on the back end on the server side versus just overwriting local data on the client side. So I don't know, but they've said that it's very tough, that they would like to, but that it's very tough to do. Probably thinking of new faces and voices. Yeah. No, I think I understood what you were meaning. And then there's other things people want, hair options, beard options. Like there's been tons of questions about it. And they always seem like they want to, but it's just never the priority. And so I guess there's no way to tell when it would be a priority. And I'm not willing to bet that they're going to do something sooner, later, whenever, because I just don't think it's a consistent guess. But yeah, that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Apologies for skipping through those last few and getting them done quick. But like I said, I've been under the weather. Don't forget to grab your Aloha plush if you want to support that. Don't forget to grab Magic Spoon if you want to support the sponsor for the video. And you'll be seeing more Magic Spoon ads this week. And thanks to everyone for asking questions. If you have a question for next week, put it in the comment section of the video below. And I will see you next week. Sounds good. And enjoy the videos that I released this week, because I've got quite a few that are cooking. I got a lot of videos cooking right now. Some consistent releases and then some stuff that has been cooking for a while and needs to be released. Quite a few that need to be released. But with that, I will see all of you next week. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye-bye.